Welcome to the next episode of Doing Insurance Right. I'm your host, Scott Jenkins, local agency owner of Farmers Insurance here in Ahwatukee, Arizona. And today I wanted to go over one that I hear quite a bit. My car keeps getting older and my insurance keeps getting more expensive and I don't understand. So, I mean, a lot of people have probably thought this, and we hear this one quite a bit. You know, how do I save a couple dollars trying to save some money? And it seems like my car gets older, but I should be saving money, but instead it's staying the same or maybe even getting a little bit more expensive. So to basically answer that question, it's pretty simple. The insurance is not intended for your car. So if your car gets less expensive, it doesn't mean other cars on the road are getting less expensive. For example, you know, you might have a 7 to 8, 9, 10-year-old car, but there's a lot of cars on the road that are not 7, 8, 9, 10 years. So if they're a newer car, obviously you're going to want to carry enough property damage in case the worst happens and you do get into an accident. And you're going to want to make sure you carry enough bodily injury, obviously, if they get injured. So that's one of the things. So, and have you seen the prices of these cars lately? So it used to be you get a new car for $15,000. Well, that's out of the woodwork. You can hardly get anything for 20 or to 25 range anymore. And now with all the extra safety features that they're adding to these newer vehicles, such as, you know, blind spot monitoring, some sort of frontal crash, rear crash, side crash. Now, when you used to be able to replace a bumper for $500, now you can't replace that bumper for $500. Now it's like $2,000. And that's not even talking a luxury vehicle. You could be looking at 2 to 3 times as much because there are sensors in those back bumper panels in order to help out with, especially like blind spot monitoring. So the next biggest reason of the rising cost of insurance, even though your car is getting older, is going to be medical. We all know how expensive medical is getting. I'll just give you a prime example. I was in the hospital for 4 days a few months ago. I have pretty good insurance with Blue Cross and Blue Shield. My bill from just the hospital alone, not including the doctors and everything, my insurance company, after the deducted rate and everything, paid out $88,000 for 4 days. I didn't have a surgery. I had 1 x-ray, 1 MRI, and antibiotics and some pain pills. That was it. So I did not have a couple surgeries that are very, very expensive. I didn't have to have 15 different x-rays, 4 or 5 different MRIs. None of that occurred, but this bill was still $88,000 for 4 days. So what happens if somebody goes into the hospital and they're in for 12 days? You know, are we looking at $300,000 almost? Probably so. You know, and that's if they have a couple surgeries along the way. We could even be pushing over that $300,000 ballpark. So therefore, the bodily injury portion does keep getting more expensive on the vehicles, and that has nothing to do with the age of your car. The only thing that really has to do with the age of the car, when you look at it on your insurance policy and the premium portion, is going to be the collision and the comprehensive. And you'll notice that that part does continue to go down. The older your car is, the less it's going to cost if there was a total loss to replace it for the insurance company. So therefore, that part is correct. Your car is getting older. It is getting cheaper. The unfortunate part is that these other parts are getting more expensive. Medical costs are out of control, as they have been now for the last 10, 15 years. Just it affects a lot of different areas, just not medicine itself. And then probably the last reason for the insurance not going down, even though your car is getting older, is there's more and more drivers on the road. Therefore, there's more and more risk of what? Accidents. So with more and more drivers, you know, more and more accidents can happen. So in a lot of major metropolitan areas, especially, cannot handle the amount of traffic that are on the roadways. Therefore, you have a lot of rush hour type backups where everything's at a standstill. And what happens in a standstill? People get anxious. They want to get home. They need to get to work on time. You know, things that they need to pick up their kids. So when things like that happen, people do get really anxious and start switching lanes all the time, trying to get ahead. And what happens? They can get bumped. So things like that happen there. And that also does raise the cost of insurance costs as well on your automobiles. So hopefully that gives you a few reasons of why that's happening. If you need a little bit more explanation, I'd be more than happy to talk to you on the phone at 480-626 5949, or feel free to catch us on the web at scottjenkinsinsuranceagency.com or any of our social platforms. I'll be more than happy to run through it with you a little bit more detail. Thanks again for listening to the podcast. As always, if you could rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast, I greatly appreciate it. It helps me get out the word as well as get the ratings up there so other people can find the podcast on either iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, any of the platforms that's on all those. Thanks again. Do appreciate it. And I look forward to talking to you in the next episode.